Humanity is here, and the question I think on everyone's mind is one, the hell is it? And two, is it any good? Let's talk about it. The answer to the first part is that it's a unique puzzle game in which you play as a dog who has to go through a number of different trials, and you are ultimately guiding these lost souls to ascension. Each stage is really unique, and the objectives within each stage can range from really simple to excruciatingly difficult. And to me, the game is really fun. It's not what I expected. As you progress, you are introduced to new abilities, you are introduced to new ways to play. And as much as I enjoyed my time with Humanity, I honestly can only recommend this game for people who are really into puzzle games and those who do not frustrate easily. Now, I say that because it lulls you into a false sense of security. In the first opening sections of this game, you are introduced to the various mechanics, and every stage is pretty much built to kind of show you how humanity is going to work, how certain things operate, you need to approach certain puzzles, because at the beginning you have just a constant stream of lost souls just marching across. So it creates this clutter, and you're there just to guide them. It doesn't matter how many fall off, you actually get an achievement for this. But as they're falling off, you have to constantly think, well, okay, we'll just go here and here. There's really no punishment early on. But as you progress through this game, you're going to find out very quickly that the game will absolutely throw puzzles at you that'll make you stop and stare. And it becomes very difficult. It becomes very much trial and error, and it can become incredibly tedious. And it's something that you really don't expect, because most of the puzzles at the beginning are fun and unique. The moment you get past the first core, and there are 4 in all, the moment you get past the first core, which is really this culmination of all of the trials you've ran so far, you are going to run into the next puzzles phase, in which you have to map out the path for the lost souls, and then you activate a power button, and then you get to see if it works. And that's where the trial and error process comes in. You have to actually restart every time you fail. The good thing is that when you do restart, you can restart with all of your directions on the map. So that's great. But once you start getting into the later levels that require a lot of precise planning, it can become very tedious, and it can become very frustrating. There were certain sections of this game that I played where I was in awe about how everything was working as intended. However, there were certain parts where my lost souls were not pushing back a box because they were getting constantly pressed upon. And I was like, okay, this is not working. Is this how it's supposed to really go? And if you want, you can click on a solution video, and they will actually show you how to solve the puzzle but not get the Goldie. I did the exact same thing as the solution video, but for whatever reason, my flow of lost souls were not pushing the box out, and I thought they were just getting in each other's way, so I made a slight adjustment, and then it worked. It's one of these things that I think you have to live with if you are going to play this game, but I feel like if you can get past that tedium and you can get past that frustration, I think you're going to find that Humanity is an excellent puzzle game, and that one I think that if you love puzzle games, you should play immediately. The footage that's playing in the background are all the levels that I really enjoyed playing. I really wanted to show the diversity in a lot of them, because I feel like you do have to obviously make really complex movements. But like I said, in the beginning, there's really no penalty for what happens. Now, as you progress, there are going to be certain sections where there are penalties. And that's obviously the parts where I'm like, you're either going to love them because of that trial and error, or you're going to hate them. And it really just depends on the person. For myself, I love them because the results of that trial and error were always hilarious. And I think that's one of the things that humanity can get away with, is that it has this really unique visual style. This is probably one of the weirdest games I have ever played. It really is. If you've ever played the game IQ, it'll remind you of that in terms of its visual style. It'll also remind you of Lemmings. I don't know if there are any Lemmings fans out there. Holy crap, I'm kind of aging myself. But this game really reminded me of that. One of the things I found interesting, though, is that as you go through the different trials, the game starts to progress into something unexpected. And I really can't explain that because it really kind of breaks and spoils the story. But as you're moving along and as you're going through these trial phases and taking on the different cores, the game really does take on kind of a different genre at one point, and it blew my mind. And when I got to the end credits, I was just stunned by what I just played. And it really felt satisfying, but at the same time, I have no clue what the hell I just saw. It was just wild to me. I really don't believe there's another game out there like Humanity, which is great because it's just another example of an indie title just doing their thing and creating a really great game out of it. Here's the deal. The true highlight of this game is its level design. The developers do an excellent job of making the start of every trial phase a tutorial level, because they will introduce mechanics often. And essentially, as you progress through the trial phase, you're going to see that they're going to combine mechanics from previous levels. And it is a lot of fun mixing and matching. Now, when you get to the end of the game, you're going to see a few stages that are going to have all of the mechanics that you've learned, all the different features in the game, all rolled up into one. And it is going to require the player to be very attentive, because if you sit still and you're stagnant, you're more than likely going to fail. The end of this game can be incredibly punishing and also very taxing. Some of these stages look like they're really easy setups, but as you go along, you'll notice that you have to, approach something one way while also guiding the lost souls into a different direction or into a different route. It requires a lot of management, and you can get overwhelmed at the end of it. I will say, though, that the completion of these levels are incredibly satisfying. I would compare the feeling of completing a difficult stage in Humanity to beating a difficult Dark Souls boss. I think when I got past a certain stage in this game, I had felt the same elation I felt when I beat Ishin the Sword Saint, because the adjustments I had to make throughout the entirety of that stage were insane. One of the things that I always notice is that in the solution videos, they always show you how to get to the end, but they don't show you how to get the goldies. And the difficulty in that is, it's really nice to have that visual of what the solution should look like, but because the goldies are just off to the side a little bit, you have to make some pretty significant adjustments. And on some stages, it feels like your brain is just doing its damnedest to work in overtime to get this solved. It can be an incredibly satisfying feeling. It can also be one of those things where you just feel like you're bashing your head against the wall. Like, the solution is obviously there, but it just takes so much to get that feeling out or to get that solution out. So just be warned that this game will make you feel things. Now, I didn't say I wanted to smash my controller or break anything. I just felt like sometimes I felt like I had the solution, but I was missing a step or something in between. I don't think it ever got to the point where I was missing like pretty huge steps. I just felt like, I didn't make them turn. That's also something I think that goes into the tedium. If you happen, you always have to remember that they won't just go into the directions you want them to. You always have to turn the lost souls, because if you don't, they will just careen off the edge. And it's really funny to see, but it's also one of those things, especially when you have to do those setups, we have to map out the route just prior to activating anything. It's one of those things you're like, oh my god, I have to restart this again. I really want to know why a reverse button was not in the game, because you can accelerate time and you're going to want to, because as you can see in some of the footage, it really does take them a long time to get to where they're going, which is great when you're trying to initially do your setups. But a reverse button would have been amazing for this game. It would have been just absolutely perfect. Instead of me just constantly restarting, just let me reverse. Like, I don't see a problem with that. And not to say it takes too long for the stage to restart, but a reverse button would have been amazing. Now, as I said before, I really feel like this game can only be recommended to individuals who really love puzzle games, and I'm going to stand by that. Even though I really enjoyed my time with Humanity, I still can't in good conscience recommend this for everyone. I feel like if it's because it's on PlayStation Plus, it's a game you should definitely take a look at and see if it's something that you'll adapt to. But when this game starts to get going and when this game starts to take off the kiddie wheels, it is tough. And just the simple fact that you have to go into these core sections, which pretty much act as boss fights, and have to utilize everything you've learned and then some, it can be really daunting. And one of the things that's really impressive is just how complex those puzzles can get. There were times where I was in the middle of solving something and I pulled up the solution video to see if I was like close. Not even. Even if my method worked and it generally was like elongated, I'm looking at the solution video like, how did you even think of that? Like, I don't think the average person would even put that into thought at all. And it's just something that you have to consider while you're playing this game. There's a puzzle in Trial Phase 2, which is like the second or third stage, where you are going to have to make at least 20 to 25 moves. And if you mess up at all in this very short area to get these blocks positioned in a certain way, you are going to have to restart. You have to clear all your moves. Because if you're not familiar with how certain blocks will be pushed, with how certain movements need to be made, if you're not comfortable with that, if you're unsure, if you're not managing those details like I've talked about, you're going to struggle. And so with that, I think Humanity is one of those games where if you love puzzle games and you love having your brain racked and you love all these type of teasers, absolutely do your best, put your back into it. I recommend this for you. You're going to love it. You're going to get frustrated by it, but you're ultimately going to have a good time. Probably come away just like me, stunned. But if you are a casual gamer, I just want to warn you that when this game starts to get going and it starts to kind of pile upon you, it can feel very overwhelming, and you will probably be like me and go brain dead at some point. It is one of those games where if you happen to play for long stretches, you're going to hit a section, even if you're in a flow state, that is probably going to leave you just gone mentally. So I recommend that if you play this game, do it at your own pace. Don't be afraid to use a solution video, but just know that they only tend to solve how to get to the end. They generally do not solve how to get the goldies, and you need 16 of them to actually open up the final stage. So bear that in mind, that there is a lot to strategize and a lot to think about in this game. And although I recommend it and I had a good time and my review is going to be positive if I'm talking to someone about it, I have told friends already, just be warned that this game is really tough. Alrighty, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Also, if you see some of the puzzles in this video and you're like, I can steal some of your ideas, absolutely do it, please. If someone recommends it in the comments, I will post the actual end to this game, which I found to be one of the more enjoyable parts of this game. It was kind of a wild thing. If you happen to get there, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but if you happen to get there, it's not the same genre. That's literally what I'm going to tell you. Leave a comment below if you've played this game. Tell me how you felt about it. Did you feel it was too difficult? Did you feel it was too easy for you because you just have big brain? But let me know how you're feeling about playing Humanity. If you like this content, Please like, share, and subscribe. And I am Ken from Pixelated Thoughts, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone.